Cheating stories that will leave you speechless. Let's dive into the chaos. Story 1. Cheating stories that will leave you speechless. Let's dive into the chaos. Girlfriend and I have been seeing each other for 6 years. We're mid-late 20s now, looking at buying a house together and kids, etc. When we met, she was shy and had no real friend group, and it's mostly just been me and her since we first met. She never goes out with friends, and neither do I. We've always been happy with each other's company. I was her first boyfriend, also first guy to take her to bed, and it's been smooth sailing since day one. She worked in a high-end fashion shop 3 years ago for about 6 months, and in this time they were brought to a fashion show in Italy. When she came back, she left the job only a few weeks later. I never had any doubts or worries that she would do anything wrong on her trip. Her old coworker, who is a guy, contacted me randomly last week and basically said that my GF and her boss, literally a basic old man, very fat, bald, 5'6", missed the fashion show, and when they all met for dinner afterwards, my GF and her boss didn't really have an excuse, and they left the dinner early. He said they both had rooms on the same floor of the hotel, even though the other workers all stayed on a different floor. When my GF left her job, her boss had a meeting with all the staff where he told them that he had to fire her because of her refusal to do what he told her and their constant arguing. The coworker said he had never once witnessed them argue, and she always did what the boss wanted like everyone else. The coworker in question isn't interested in girls, so I knew it wasn't a jealousy thing. I still didn't really believe him and kind of brushed him off with a blunt reply. But this morning, a female coworker of hers who used to pick her up and drop her off after work messaged me to tell me that everything the first guy said was the truth, and they felt they had to let me know when they saw my GFS posts about us looking to buy a house together. I haven't said a word to her yet because everything has been perfect for us up until this, and I'm in a state of shock. Is there any other reasonable conclusion apart from my early 20s, GF cheating on me with a fat loser in his 60s? I'm trying to build up the courage to confront her, and I want to be sure before I make such an accusation. Story 2. Insane girlfriend goes crazy over sister's nail. Okay, so my girlfriend of 10 months was in my car the other day. I'm 19. I share my car with both my younger sisters. They both are in the car around once a week, and they use press-on nails. My girlfriend found an old one on the floor, and she lost it. I had my sister text her and say that it was my other sister's, and the sister whose nail it was texted me, and I sent her the screenshots. She was adamant that I was lying. I have never cheated on her before, nor has my loyalty been called into question. For 24 straight hours, I told her my truth. She went so far as to say, "If you want to be together, tell me the truth. I will forgive you." I said, "I didn't cheat on you." She said, "Okay, so you're still lying, this is over." So we were done then, but when you thought it couldn't get any worse, I get a text from a guy saying they had hooked up over the summer 3 times, so I went off at her for that. She has called me abusive, bipolar, insane, crazy, a liar, and a cheater. She texted me finally saying, "I didn't cheat. You and I both know what you did." Any fine. "I am sick of your twisted games. I'm blocking you." So I tell her, I will take it to my grave that I didn't cheat. She then blocked me. I simply didn't cheat on her. What the hell is going on? Story 3. I feel like I'm cheating on my husband. I, 32F, have been married for 8 years to 34M. We became friends with a 28M early last year. We all clicked really well and had a lot of fun together. We have a group of friends and he is always included whenever we hang out. He had girl problems, and since we are married, he asked for advice and we gave it. He was trying to get with a girl he liked for a long time and was just doubting himself. He kind of gravitated toward me more since I think he felt more comfortable sharing this kind of thing with me. So during this time period, my husband and I were having a very rocky marriage. I was even contemplating separating. I was definitely emotionally vulnerable. Unfortunately, I started talking to this friend through text, and we became closer. He finally asked the girl out, and she declined. So he was also emotionally vulnerable. We started to develop a closer bond, and I started to develop feelings for him. I actually told him and suggested we keep our distance. He did the opposite at first, and then we did see very little of each other for almost 3 months. Then my husband lost his dad, and he also had a loss in his family, so we started to spend time again. We became even closer than before. He has become much more affectionate with me, and it's worrying me. I feel like in a way I'm cheating on my husband even though I have not had any sexual relation with him. Would this kind of thing be considered cheating to you? Story 4. My mom thinks my dad is seeing someone, and I don't have any proof against her. Hey guys, I'm 18 years old, and I'm a male. So basically my dad has a lot of different activities he likes to do. Most of them are at night. So far nothing seemed off until fall of 2024. But mostly my mother, started noticing him getting home later every time. He's cold with her usually, but sometimes he becomes a sweetheart for a day or two. then repeats the cycle. Last time the plan was that he and his friends would go to a poker club to our capital by train. First up, he insisted going 2 hours earlier, saying, "My friends are not trustworthy, you can't plan with them." In the end, he ended up taking the 4 o'clock train, the one that was planned with his friends. So far so good, right? Well, I was in the neighboring city at my greff's, and I thought since we're bored and in a bad mood due to her sister's relationship, we decided to take the car for a spin. Meanwhile, we should check the opening hours of the poker club in the city. We pulled up in the parking lot, I got out, got the information, and on the way out I spotted a familiar face. One of my dad's best friends who told me that he is here with them. I don't know when he arrived. After that, he called me to tell his story about their friends changing their minds. The poker game ended at around 2 in the morning, but he arrived at home at around 5. My mom told me that he was talking to someone on the phone before coming into the house, even staying out for 10 to 20 minutes smiling and laughing. He goes swimming too, but I don't think it should take 5 hours. Every time he leaves to do something, he turns off Find My, which he had never done before. Years. He has a hidden expensive perfume in his sports bag, and I know that thing is something he wouldn't buy for himself. He leaves even when we are with family friends and says that he didn't check the time. What do you think? Should I be concerned? How can I make sure that he's the person I know? Story 5. Is this cheating? Help. Last night, I, 27F, found out my BF, 26M, of 2.5 years, had been sending pics on Snapchat to randoms. At least that's what he says. I found 2 Snapchat messages with saved photos that he has sent, and a hidden app. It was Discord, which he was part of a server to send and look at pics. Now for context, he's bi, so the photos were mainly of his ass. The server on Discord was for gay/bi men. As soon as I found out, I confronted him, and we talked for about 2 hours. He told me he didn't think of it as cheating, as he wasn't talking to anyone, just sending/receiving pics, which he looked at like porn, and as a way to receive compliments, etc. He also said it's been something he's been doing since before we started dating. Like, that makes it any better? I asked him if I was doing the same thing, how would he feel? Which I think is when he realized that he was cheating, and he made a mistake. I told him to delete all the apps in front of me, and he scrolled through every app on his phone and deleted them/deleted accounts. So, when doing this, I also saw he had a Kierk account, which there was only one message between him and someone that he had sent 2 days before our 2-year anniversary last year. The message only said hi, and the person he was messaging never responded. But what if they had? Anyway, I know everyone will say leave him, but maybe I'm wrong, and it's not cheating, as to him it's just a taboo sort of kink. But I'm a very understanding person. If he had told me he liked to do this rather than hide it from me, I probably would have understood. TLDR, my BF is sending pics to randoms online. Story 6. Should I leave or stay? Well, I guess the answer is easy. LMFAO, leave, that what everyone usually says, but story time. My BF 26 and I 27 have been best friends since 16, have been together for 4 years and are engaged. So last year I found TXT messages of him trying to meet up with an escort. The messages were old by the time I found them, they didn't link, and nothing happened. I forgave him, we moved forward. Mary said, I'm not a fan of sex toys, but I found one in or closet. I threw it away. Tears of joy, BCWTF, but my BF went and got another one, and I feel like we never had a conversation about how I feel about them, or if I want them in the house or not, or anything, but I let him keep it and moved along. This year I thought we were perfect engaged having a baby ECT after I had our daughter. I found him trying to go to massage places that have asterisk with us. I told him I was done, started looking for APTS and was ready to take family, but he had a breakdown and was going through a mental break, and I didn't want to be the camel to break the back. So I told him if he really wants to be with me, he's got to step up and really make changes or I'm gone. I love him, but I love myself more, so moving forward. I threw away his fleshlight, and then I see he's ordered a Sasterisk doll that's like just booty, and I'm like literally disgusted, so I confront him, and he says he thought it was harmless, that he's just trying to use it when we can't BC. We do have 2 kids in the house now, and I'm not always I understand, but I was literally mortified. So then yesterday I look in his phone, ND, he's looking up Asian girl, like honestly I feel he has a fetish and that I should leave BC. I feel that he's always thinking about sex and Asian girls and sex toys and ECT, and it's not like we DNT have sex. My sex drive is higher than his, but he wants to play the game for hours that I fall asleep by the time he comes to bed, and that's not my fault. I just don't know what to do. Is it even worth it anymore? I love him, we don't argue, we have a great relationship other than these issues. My family loves him, but deep down I'm starting to feel he's addicted to sex. Story 7. Is she cheating? Why or why not? Hello, I've been struggling with my wife's behaviors of talking to other men in my presence and engaging in those conversations alone, either in public places or in our home. After talking to her about these issues, she denies them and says, I'd never do that. I feel that because she is Latina, and is more independent and more provocative in nature, that the level of her conversations have increased in frequency. From my perspective, I have also realized through talk therapy that I have some issues with self-esteem related to comparing myself to others in their personality and physical fitness. I tend to ask myself unconsciously whether or not I can take them physically or be more fit than them. If I perceive myself as more athletic or better in personality, then I don't perceive them as a threat to my wife. Please share comments as to whether you believe my wife is cheating or not, and if so, what experience have you had personally that persuades you to that point of view? Story 8. Husband emotional cheated. I don't even know where to start. I, 34F, and my husband, 39M, have been together for 20 years, married for 7. Back in August the 1st, caught my husband talking to another girl. For the past 2 years, our relationship was on the rocks. We were always fighting. And with me, I'm so stubborn, I will hold a grudge for days, so I wouldn't talk to him, or I would just ignore him. And I guess because of the lack of communication and attention, he seeked it somewhere else. He says at first it was just someone to talk to. They would talk about us all the time, his marriage to me and our kids. I found a couple of messages to her talking very nasty. That's how I caught him. I confronted him, and he came clean. He said that he was curious and wanted to see how far it got. They decided to meet up one day to do the deed, but he said the whole time he was thinking, WTF am I doing? And he knew it was wrong. When he met up with her, he said right then and there he knew that this is not what he wants, and instantly regretted it, and supposedly didn't sleep with her. He says that now, after all this happened, he realizes that he just wants me, and only me. He promises to never hurt me like that again, but it's hard to believe, because that trust is gone. We have many conversations, and he assures me he loves me, and he wants to be a better husband and dad. After this happened, I went into depression, and while I'm a little okay now, I still AHEV my triggers. I am constantly on edge thinking he will do something again. I am not thinking I should go to therapy. IDK. Weary. Story 9. Could my BF possibly be cheating? He treats me like his everything, but some parts of his stories and daily life isn't adding up, and I have a weird feeling about it. Long halfway rant, sorry guys. My BF, 22, and me, 19, have been together for 7 months. Overall, it's a beautiful relationship. We live a few hours apart but see each other frequently and are supposed to move in together in a few weeks. Like I said, mostly the relationship is good. Over time, I've just noticed a few things. The first thing that threw me off was his work schedule. He would claim to be at work for well over 12 hours, especially night shifts. After about 2 months, I talked to him about it and told him it bothered me how he'd work so long. Then, by the time he came home and we could call, he would be asleep within seriously 10 minutes or less. On more than one occasion, we had a night planned where we were going to watch a movie or something together, and he'd get a call and go to work on the drop of a dime. I never really got much time with him, especially since I worked day shifts, although my hours were supposedly less than half his. He never really acknowledged it at first, but later on I ended up sharing my location with him. It took him a week or two to share his as well. It seemed like around that exact time I got his location, his hours at work went from seriously 70 to 80-hour weeks to 35 to 50 hours a week. On top of it, all day, but especially at night, he would get calls from who he said was his coworkers or his boss. Sometimes it'd be waiting on him to wrap up and call me for over an hour, and during that time he'd hardly text. He'd say it was for something work-related, and I'd ask about it not out of suspicion but curiosity. Realistically, it never was something that couldn't have been discussed in 2 minutes at most, so it always baffled me how it could never take less than 30 minutes for him to be done OTP. On top of it, it was always women coworkers who he said called. One woman in particular to this day calls 95% of the times. He also had a female best friend when we met, which I wasn't a fan of but accepted since overall he's very genuine and I trust him even now. That was until me and her finally got the chance to talk, and she made one of those comments only a woman could hear and recognize. It was about him being like a dad to her kids ever since their dad left, and how he's a good man. It was the tone she approached it with that made me look at her sideways. I talked to him after and said she at least had a crush on him and was trying to make me jealous. He said he was done being friends with her and that she was toxic anyways and cut her off, but he never blocked her since according to him he couldn't, since they worked TG and they might need to be in contact at some point. I thought, okay, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. I can deal with it. The issue was when she began begging him to be her friend again and come back to her, his words, and showing up when he worked, even if she didn't. I once again told him it wasn't normal, and it further proved my suspicion. He recently found out she was telling her now ex-BF he was stalking and harassing her and was fired for it, which I knew that much at least wasn't true. Another thing that rubs me sideways is how we video call all day and night, unless one of us can't due to work or whatever. If anyone has ever been on a video call while someone is texting, us can always tell they're texting by how the phone moves and jerks. At first he'd joke and ask who's texting us, and he'd always tell me who was texting. Now he just straight up tells me he wasn't texting, even if I could literally see him doing it. He also made the first ever comment on my appearance the other day, doing the whole "our perfect butt" routine. He basically told me he would find me more attractive if I was muscular. I don't have the perfect body. I am a little chubby, mostly because I don't have the best food options available and have issues with my joints that at times is so crippling. I can't walk, let alone hit the gym, though I do try to work out when my body allows it without my knees dislocating. I am slightly overweight and chubby and definitely not the prettiest girl, and it kind of tore me down more than it should have realistically, because I am so used to him telling me I am flawless and I am already insecure, and he knows that a parent I live with ATM is always making comments on my weight in some capacity. He also knows I had an eating disorder and am physically incapable 90% of the time, even though I desperately wish that wasn't the case. Another thing is that when we followed each other's social media, his list of people he followed became private, and honestly, it made me highly suspicious at the time. I didn't have Facebook at the time, but I made one for him, and when he found out I had made an account and found his, he deleted all his posts and again locked his friends list so I couldn't see it anymore. He's accused me of cheating as well, which could be seen as projecting ATP. This whole thing has left me feeling crazy cuss father outside of a few suspicious seeming things. We do spend almost every second of the day together, and when we're together in person, everything feels perfect and right and real. He treats me like a princess, and is usually very loving and kind and understanding and thoughtful and open, and makes me feel like the only girl in the world. I've been cheated on before, and it really doesn't help the trust issues to see the occasional red flag, especially from someone who I really do deeply love and feel like I knew him forever in a minute. If he is cheating, I don't think I could ever trust again. I'd be so fucking heartbroken and destroyed as a person. So someone give me your outside looking in, and if you think I could be wrong or right. Story 10. She told me it's mine. I work at a pub out in the country. There's this olderish woman that I always catch staring at me, especially when I'm talking to someone else. It's real awkward when we get close. I want to run. I want to stay. I become so self-aware. It's paralyzing. She was real friendly at first, but had become somewhat cold to me. Stay. She came into work and passed me without saying anything. I was trying to flirt, so I said, "Hey, you're not going to say hi to me." She said, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" in an insincere way. I just thought, okay, she's upset about something. I tried to connect one more time by saying, "Hey, they being nice to you?" She just said, "Yeah." Close-ended. I was just thinking, what's the deal with her today? Maybe she's just having an off day. Later that night, I went to use the restroom. It's located outside around the building. She just got done and was walking back to the back entrance. It was my last day, and honestly, I just can't get her out of my head. I just thought, I'm gonna go for it, why not? I grabbed her wrist and pulled her towards me gently. We just stared each other in the eyes for a moment. It just came to me out of nowhere. I said, "Tell me you want me," while we stared at each other. Her expression changed, and she gave me those FCK me eyes. She said, "I want you. Tell me, you don't want anyone else to have me. I don't want anyone else to have you." I pushed her against the wall and was about to kiss her when one of the high school workers walked by to take the trash out. I just thought, Jesus Christ, you gotta be kidding me. We both went back to work, she went back to serving, and I went back to prepping. We have a shed in the back where all the produce gets prepped. I hate to admit it, but this woman is married and has kids. I just couldn't resist. Her husband showed up later to have a meal while he was sitting in the dining room enjoying a meal. I went to fill up the ice behind the bar. She was there by herself. After filling up the ice, I stood next to her and started chatting. The other servers were out having a smoke break. While chatting, I slid my hand down her back and started to feel her ass. I was making sure it was okay, she didn't fight it. I slid down further between her legs and she started breathing a little heavier. I rubbed her a little bit and said, "Tell me this, is this mine?" In a shaky, soft voice she said, "It's yours." She left before I got done in the back. I told my boss I would come in one more day since he needs the help. Really just want to see her again. I'm kind of nervous and thought about her all night. I know it's kinda FKD, but I just couldn't help myself. Maybe it's the meds IDK. I just want her. Story 11. Cheating 5 years ago. Hey all, I am in a really tough situation, RN, and looking for opinions. My GF, F22, and I, M22, have been together almost 6 years. The start of our relationship was a little rocky, as we were both 16 and dumb high school kids that didn't know how to be in a relationship. Over time, our relationship has become awesome, where we work really well together as a team, communicate well, and rarely fight. We also align on core morals and long-term goals going forward. We have recently been talking about moving across the world together in June. We were getting pretty in-depth on figuring out exact details on how to do it. My GF then drops a bomb on me and says that she needs to tell me something before we decide to take this next step. She tells me that in the first month of our relationship, when she was 16, she got really drunk and was flirting with a family friend who was 17 at the time and also had a partner. They continued to flirt through the night, and eventually things got heated and they started talking about kissing with my GF, even saying that our partners won't know if we don't tell them. They ultimately decided not to kiss, because that would be too far of a betrayal. Later that night, they decided to watch a movie and ended up cuddling and falling asleep until morning. She says that she felt bad after it happened, but was too scared to tell me. But since then, she hasn't thought about it until they recently saw each other at a funeral, and it brought up the memory. She has undoubtedly grown since then into who I genuinely thought was going to be my future wife. Is this just a dumb 16-year-old mess-up? Is this a sign of something deeper? Is this something that should be forgiven? Is it possible to forget this for 5 years? She says she still loves me and sees her future with me, which I do believe, but I don't know how to proceed. Story 12. Caught ex-wife cheating. On December 13th, my wife attended a Christmas party at a hotel, and to my surprise, she had a room reserved for her. I didn't know about this until I found evidence of her whereabouts. I went to the hotel and found her room empty, except for the bed and 2 empty cups. It's easy to guess what happened, but here's where it gets weird. Her phone and purse mysteriously vanished from her car, which she used as an excuse for not texting or calling me. When I returned home, she was already there and concocted a bizarre story about suspecting one of her coworkers had followed her to her car and stolen her purse. A couple of days later, I found the deodorant she had in her stolen purse. When I confronted her about it, she panicked and started having anxiety attacks. I don't believe her one bit. I'm not seeking advice, but I would appreciate some insight from a woman's perspective on this situation. Am I imagining things? Story 13. What kind of manipulator cheats, denies, blames you, then apologizes? I recently found out my boyfriend cheated on me, and it's been such a mess, man. When I confronted him about it, he completely denied it, lied to my face, and even got mad at me for accusing him. He made me feel like I was crazy for questioning him. Eventually, the truth came out, and now he's crying, apologizing, and saying how much he loves me and regrets everything. But here's the thing. Even after all that, he kept following the girl on social media and talking to her behind my back. What hurts even more is that he's trying to shift the blame onto me, saying it's my fault because we weren't doing well, and I left the party early that night. He says he loves me, regrets what he did, and wants to make things right, but how am I supposed to trust that? What kind of person cheats, lies, blames you for their actions, and then claims to love you? I'm so confused and don't know what to do. Has anyone else dealt with something like this? Story 14. GF wants to start going out. GF of 4 years says she is bored and wants to start going out without me. I'm busy with work and kids every other weekend, and now she wants to start going out to concerts and bars without me. Very early in our relationship, just after she brought up being exclusive, she had sex with an ex after I told her my ex reached out to me. I was rebounding at the time and was still emotionally tied to my ex, and she knew that because I was honest with her. About a year later, she told me she felt threatened by my revelation and invited an ex over while I was out of town working and slept with him. I didn't feel particularly cheated on, as I wasn't invested with her at that time. I told her that wasn't right, what she did, but we can still continue to see each other. A few years later, she started getting unsatisfied with me and accused me of cheating and was starting arguments. I became very suspicious and found that she was sexting a different ex. I confronted her and ended it for approx 6 months. She worked her way back in my life. I accepted her back for the comfort, since I was still single. I wasn't planning on getting too deep with her again, but as time went on, I got more attached to her again. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing some of the unsatisfied signs again. She says she's bored of staying home. She works and goes home and wants to start having fun. Due to work and kids, I'm unavailable every other weekend. She was good with that until recently. Now she is saying she's going to start going out with friends. She's going out with friends to a concert that include guys and girls. Not all are couples. I told her due to her cheating past I'm not comfortable and do not want to be wondering what she is up to and who she is with. She promises she isn't doing anything. I said, well, not yet. I'm not stupid. You just hadn't met him yet, and I feel you will eventually start cheating again. I then told her if you're intent on acting single, you will find yourself single. On top of everything, every time we've gone out, it has never been a great experience due to her over-drinking. She gets belligerent and even puked in my car one night. I'm planning to give her an ultimatum: if you go out, we are finished. Am I being a controlling jerk? Story 15. How did you find out your SO was cheating? I'll start. He went on a golf trip but said it was work people, and I thought nothing of if here. He even sent me a pic of the cabin. The four of them stayed in for 2 nights and a fire he built. Fast forward to months later, someone replied to a post he tagged me in on Facebook, and this random girl has a new profile picture, and it looks like he's in it. And I click on to verify, and it is the 4 of them, 2 guys and 2 girls, in a group shot with arms around each other. I go and look their other profiles, and boom, collision pics of him and this girl having a grand old fucking time together, including a pic of the same cabin and same fire. I immediately messaged her. She eventually calls me and confirms he cheated, and he didn't tell anyone about me. We had been dating exclusively for a year at this point. He denied everything like a bitch and said he was drunk and doesn't remember. Gutted. And the main girl who posted it knew it got him into trouble, yet she still has it as available to see on social media. His work friends don't even care if the photo is still up, and he told them to take it down. Story 16. This is a roller coaster and a long one. For context, my husband and I had been married for 6 years and together for 12. Around this time last year, he started to act very off, not listening when I talked to him, not coming home because he was too tired to drive after work, not showing up for the kids, etc. He told me he was having a hard time. We ended up getting into a huge fight via text. I had taken the day off work to spend time with him and the kids, and he took overtime and took off to work. Needless to say, I was upset, but I'm very well aware texting was not the way to address this. Anyways, he ended up coming home after this fight, but then I found out the entire drive home, he was on the phone with a female coworker who in the past has nothing good to say about her, and told me her reputation at work was that she goes after the married men to see who she can get to cheat. Once the wife leaves him, then she breaks up with the guy. Very classy individual, not excusing the men's behavior. Anyways, obviously at this point I'm getting suspicious, but we had found out we were pregnant again, twins, and we have 2 others already at home plus a stepchild. Fast forward, he's acting very weird with his phone, and one morning I asked him to see it, and as he's showing me his texts, this woman texts him, "I hope you slept well, XO." Obviously I get upset. He tells me she's attractive but not to worry, not his type. He misunderstood her character, he has a new respect for her, and she's as good as a friend to him as his BFF. Soon after this, husband is saying he wants to leave me, and he never wanted to be with me or have kids with me, and he just can't forgive me for our fight. The text one. I go through months of him not coming home, disappearing for days at a time, ended up in the hospital in preterm labor, came back home on bed rest, and he left me at home alone with our 2 older children and stepchild. I should add, when I went into preterm labor, I had to drive myself to the hospital an hour, because he refused to drive me. He just couldn't be in a car with me. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, before they allowed me to go home on bed rest. Get to our anniversary. He hasn't been home for 3 days at this point, and he calls me and tells me I've backed him into a corner, so he's leaving. I end up going into active labor, still at home alone with the kids, and he refused to come home. Make it to the next day, and he finally comes home to take me to the hospital. Stayed for the birth, then took off. Didn't go home to watch our other kids, just disappeared. My one twin ended up being intubated and sent to the NICU an hour away. Refused to stay in the NICU or help me out. I ended up juggling the 2 kids at home and driving back and forth to the NICU, all while recovering from birth. At home with all the kids, he leaves me alone with 2 newborns. And our 2 oldest refuses to help because he's upset. He's up and left the family he helped make, his dogs, and a house. I've been failing miserably at juggling it all. I come to find out he's been having an affair this entire time with the female coworker mentioned above. I should also add, I work at the same place as them both, and in the same department. The excuse of, she didn't know about me or didn't realize the situation is B. Everyone at work knows me, everyone knows I'm his wife, and everyone knows about my pregnancy, obviously. He's even been carrying on at work like he's been home this entire time, and she carries on asking about me and the children. He also carries on with his friends and family like nothing is amiss. To make matters worse, I come to find out that this entire time he's been not seeing his kids. It's because he's been playing dad to her child. I am sure I've missed some things, but this is the Coles Note version of my dumpster fire. Story 17. I'm destroyed. Please give me advice. Been with my boyfriend of 2 years. Yeah, I know it's not a long time, but he's my first love. I found out he was cheating on me with someone. I never knew. She used to work where I work, but I never met her anything. He was sending her pictures, and he was sending some back. IDK. If he did anything but physical with her, but it's still cheating. Anyways, after I found out I was very mean and cruel, for about 4 months, I would make him cry and insult him and call him horrible names. I regret this extremely deeply, and I wish I handled it differently, but I would feel shameful after, and I would apologize profusely. After 4-ish months, I stopped. I became gentle and kind again, and now it feels like it's flipped. He is extremely nonchalant and will ignore all of my texts. I have an anxious attachment, and I would beg and plead, and I would send paragraphs, and he would respond with a short sentence. He never used to be like this. He used to be so sweet and kind, and now he blocked me on everything. I'm seeing him Sunday, and it's just so hard to let go. He is my first love, and I still love him, but he doesn't want me anymore. I suggested we go no contact and talk in June-ish, so we can improve ourselves and be better, because I became kind after being mean for months, and I thought he would do the same. It's been about 5 months. And he's still the same. He just discards me like I meant nothing to him. He literally blocked me everywhere, and it hurts. We're talking on Sunday one last time. I just don't want to lose him, but I fear it's too late. He said he loves me and wants to be with me, but we can't. Also, some back context. He's been sad when he was 14, and it really, really affected him. And then at 21, he was in a relationship where he got sad, and it was emotionally abusive. He said it's part of why he cheated, which doesn't make sense, but I feel so pathetic for still wanting him. Please help. Story 18. I cheated on my girlfriend with webcam model. I, M33, have been on a relationship with my GF, F32. For 13 years, we lived together. I don't even remember how it started, but I discovered webcam model sites. At first, it was maybe once a month or so that I visited this site. One day I created an account and bought some tokens to interact with models. A year ago, one model gave me her personal number. I started talking outside the site. Every now and then, I bought her one gift and ordered food once. Last night, my GF find out, and now she wants to break up. I totally understand it. I broke her trust, but I never stopped loving and caring for her. I have no feelings for this model. It just became normal talking to her. I will do anything to gain her trust again. Deleted my accounts and anything related to that. I've never planned to meet her or anything. Do you think I can save our relationship? I'm planning to get therapy, and if my GF agrees, couple therapy. Story 19. My AP and I are communicating again. Help. We were no contact for 11 months, and now we are communicating again every day. Very sweet, loving, sexy, normal messages. He lives out of state, but he tells me all the things I want to hear, of course. He tells me he loves me and has kept tabs on me our whole time during no contact. He says he has never had a connection with anyone like he has had with me. He does tell me he feels obligated to her, but the love, passion, and connection is not anywhere near what we share. He just doesn't want to upset adult family members and half his pension. They have no children together. Will he find the courage ever to be honest? Am I a fool for carrying on this emotional affair? When we were together physically, it was perfect, genuine, and loving. I do know this does feel good right now. What do I do? Please be as kind as possible. Is there anything I can do to push him in my direction? I'm not malicious. I just know, and he does too, that we are simply with the wrong people. I'm looking for constructive help. I'm a professional, educated woman. I know this isn't right on paper. Sometimes things transcend that though, and I just want advice. Thanks in advance. Be as kind as possible. LOL. Story 20. Accused my husband of cheating with a coworker and he gets really angry with me. I, 35F, have been married to my husband, 35M, for 6 years and been together for 12. I got suspicious of a female coworker he kept talking about, so I never said anything to him. I just kept my eyes open to see if I had a reason or not to feel that way. After months of keeping my mouth shut, even though I had enough things that it did look like they were cheating, I finally snapped when I found out he was getting one of her kids' games fixed, which was out of character for him, because he doesn't just help with stuff like that. When our kid's game broke, it was, oh, well, I'm sorry, because he thinks games are a waste of time and money. So I accused him of cheating with her, and he gets really upset with me right then and refuses to talk about it. BC, I'm crazy and he doesn't want her. A couple days go by, and I try to talk with him again, and we have another big argument, but nothing gets solved, at least not for me, because he still refused to talk about it because he said he'd done nothing wrong and was not putting up with being accused of something he didn't do. So fast forward to last night, we are talking about him having to go back to work after being off for a little while, and I tell him if I find out he is working with her, I'm leaving him. Supposedly she doesn't work there anymore. He gets upset with me and says stop talking about it. I'm not going to listen to this bullcrap again. This conversation is over. And he says a lot of other things with all that. So I accuse him of lying to me about what he was doing last night, even though I knew he wasn't lying and he was doing what he told me. He doesn't get mad or upset with me, just says no. I really was helping my friend out with a deer at the hunting club and goes on to tell me what all happened, how he helped his friend with the deer, all kinds of stuff. So then I look at him and say, you didn't get mad at me accusing you that time, so why do you get so mad when I bring up the other woman? So now I guess I don't know what to do about all of this. Story 21. Did I get cheated on? I have been reading a lot of posts on this subreddit lately, and I started to raise some questions about my last relationship. To give you guys some context, I was 21 when I got into this relationship, and I was very naive. I had a relationship for 5 years, and we eventually broke things off. Hey, I made some mistakes, and so did she, but whatever. During the first few months, we went to a party together. She was, in my opinion, very flirty, but I didn't think much of it because I was very naive. A few weeks after the party, I got told she cheated on me by several different people, but they were not in my inner circle. I asked her, and she said that she didn't. She said she even asked the guy and showed me that he said no, even though the whole conversation was empty, so I guess deleted. Was she telling the truth, or was I dumb to believe her? The relationship is over now, but I am still wondering if she cheated on me or not. Story 22. Is paying an MSGING girls on OnlyFans cheating? Long story short, I found out my partner of 11 years has been MSGING girls on OnlyFans. Is this cheating? I feel like it is, and I feel completely broken that he has done this when porn is available for free on Pornhub, and if there was anything he wanted he could get from me. Sex-wise, I'm a very confident, experienced girl who will do anything and everything he desires, but it's obvious it's not enough for him. Which confuses me because he has said he's still very much attracted to me, so that's not the issue. What is? He says there is no reason as to why he did it, and that he is sorry. Moving forward, and I'm struggling to decide if I want to stay with him. I don't know how to rebuild trust, but I also don't want to give our children a broken home. Why? Am I overreacting? Story 23. My boyfriend has been cheating with a girl who has the same name as me. My long-term boyfriend left his phone with me on accident, and I decided to look through it for the first time. I know this is questionable and probably not right. I found that starting over 6 months ago, he had been explicitly chatting and sending pictures with a girl from his hometown, and suggesting meeting up and wanting to be physical with her during the times he'd come back home from college. Probably the worst part is, she has basically the same name as me, with the difference of 1 letter. He claims they never met up and never had sex, so it isn't cheating, but he acknowledges it was very wrong and he made a mistake. Is there any moving on from this? I can't stop comparing myself to the girl and wondering why he wanted to be entertained by someone online now. And how could he not feel any remorse with someone who literally has the same name as me? Is this really cheating, or is it forgivable? Is there a reason he did this? Story 24. I cheated on my girlfriend of 5 years. I don't know how to say this, but I cheated. I cheated on the best woman I could ever find. The way she looked at me haunts me every night. I miss her precious laugh, her voice, and her gorgeous dumb face. I don't know why did I do that. I was so weak at that time. I felt like it would be okay, and that was so selfish from me since I experienced what cheating feels like. I'm so disappointed at myself, and my heart can't handle living without my girlfriend. I always pray for her, and I pray for her forgiveness. I just want to look at her one last time, hear her voice and hug her. Miss her, and I will never forgive myself. I hope getting this out of my chest will help me because it's been a month, and I can't live a day without crying myself to sleep. I hope she lives happily, and the world treat her better than I did. Story 25. Fucked my sister-in-law. So my sister-in-law was staying with us for a bit. I'm not too fond of her due to her attitude, but fellas, you know how it is when you're horny, lol. I had just woken up and thought she had gone to work herself, so I decided to engage in a little self-love. I had some videos playing, and I guess she needed to ask me something, and walked right into my room with a full view of me jacking it. She quickly turned away, exclaiming, "Oh my God," with her hand covering her face. She asked, "Bro, are you good?" To which I stated, "Does it look like it?" She lowered her hand at this point and looked at me, my hand still holding my cock. "Do you want some help?" And I told her to show me what she had in mind. She immediately tied her hair back and lay between my legs, taking my cock and stroking it, her breath making me twitch. She pressed her face to it, seemingly hesitant to go further, but eventually just took it all in her mouth. At this point, I decided to go all in and started pulling at her shirt. I've always imagined what her titties looked like, always so full in her shirts. Once I got it off, she kept sucking me, stopping at one point to say how it's so much. I told her I'm sure she's had bigger, to which she told me to shut it, and began to rub her tits along my dick. This continued for a bit, me moaning at her administrations and her saying that we're going to hell. Well, without a doubt, I love me some titties. Ow. I like to play with them, suck them, bite them, tease them, you name it, I want it. So I couldn't wait any longer, and pulled her to my face to have a bit of fun with them. Bang bath. I guess part of me feels bad about the whole thing, but in the heat of the moment we don't make the best decisions, lol. Story 26. Her husband unknowingly dropped her off to fuck me. Susan and I would hook up on and off for years since we were 15 and well into our early 20s until she got into a serious relationship. We stayed friends, even sometimes double dating, although me and the guy never cared to become friends with each other. Just there cause of her, which he was cool with. He never knew I used to fuck his girl. Now into our 30s. Susan and I only keep in touch by FaceTime, despite living an hour from each other. So mid-normal conversation she flashed me, which instantly made me hard. After some time I returned the favor and flashed her. She asked me to stroke it, and eventually we had FaceTime sex? Haha. Told her I missed the real thing, and half-jokingly I told her to come over. She smiled, and asked her now husband, same guy, if he was free to drop her off to her girlfriend's house to hang out. An hour later, she, being dropped off, comes in, and as soon as the door closes we start fucking, sucking, licking, going at it like we were teenagers again, and drinking when we aren't. Once we were done, and both drunk, she called him to pick her up, ended sending her back home with multiple creepies that night. I really hope she had him eat her pussy that night. Story 27. Infidelity from America to Eastern Europe. I, M21, want to keep this quick, but I want to share it and I hope it's interesting. In April 2024, I met this girl, F21, from Eastern Europe. By August, we became very close friends. I grew comfortable sharing really deep and raw thoughts with her, while she became comfortable showing affection and receiving compliments from me. Problem. She was in a relationship. She was lonely, and we often spent up to 7 hours a day together, and at least 3, generally on the higher end. We were close and grew closer. Despite our sexual tension, we developed a deep friendship. Our feelings for each other, meanwhile, grew. Eventually, this led to 4 separate crises. One on Thanksgiving break, where I wrote her a love letter, she broke and told her boyfriend, and I made her pick between us. She picked him, but we kept doing what we were doing, but more intensely. The second crisis occurred in early December, when, in a moment of arousal, she showed me her breasts. During the crisis, I saw her breasts several times. After almost losing her, we agreed to just be friends, however started video call sex regularly a week later. A third crisis occurred between Christmas and New Year's, when I got triggered by something she did, and cut her off, changing my mind 3 agonizing days later. After that, the best part of our affair blossomed, with her expressing no guilt after sex, and romance thriving. Less than a week ago, however, we lost romantic feelings for each other. We took a break from video sex because of a cyst. Yesterday I sent her a video about infidelity. There was a silent assumption that the affair was over, and we were just close friends. However, we did have sex that night. The next morning, however, I found out that she freaked out and told her boyfriend. He is saying we can only text. However, she said she's not sure if she'd even respond to me. I tried to get her to keep being my friend, but she rejected me to save her relationship. I just want my best friend back. I lost interest in the affair. I'd like to offer a deal where we don't speak past midnight and record all of our calls. Maybe we can make a rule where we plan every call we're going to have. The boyfriend now has access to her Discord. He's a nice and forgiving guy. I hope he'll accept. Her mom also likes me and is suggesting that we take a few weeks for a break. Well, what are your thoughts? Update. They accepted my terms with modifications. Story 28. Breakup cheating sex. M26. My FWB, F26, was going through a breakup with her 6-year-old guy, M30. That guy was going through his own career struggle, so she wanted to part ways. We were messing around for a while. I had already banged her on the backseat of my car and had few makeout sessions. He had idea that something was going on. BHD his back so was grumpy always. Atlas, she called it off. The day she did it, she was pretty disturbed, so get distracted she came to me. She was sad. And that guy went emotionally crazy, was drunk calling and messaging her, crying on the call, etc. She was a mess that evening. I went close to her and hugged her. Hug lasted pretty long and ended into a lip lock. She wanted to feel better, but constant calls were stressful. Till then, I was a friend. But something evil got in my mind, and I kissed her while she was crying. She was in a mini shock as the kiss was dominant. That kiss went on quite long, pushed her against a wall and went wild. I moved down her neck, shoulder, boobs. I went to remove her top, but then she refused. I insisted of doing it tonight, so to feel better. The drunk calls, my kiss, and the stress made her give up, and we went all for it. In no time I undressed her naked. She had that awkwardness, but my evil lust didn't listen anything. We were making out on the bed when she got his call again. My evil lust asked her, receive it and put it on speaker. He was crying, I remember. Please tell me, what have I done that you did this? Was his line. I saw a tear in her eye, and that's when I went in. I was on top of her, pounding her mindlessly. I kissed that tear and made sure she comes. We both came in some minutes. The call had ended. We were naked cuddling. I asked her to block him everywhere. She blocked him and showed it to me. We kissed. Later, after some hours, we had sex again. Don't know what happened to that guy. Story 29. I have been sleeping with a married woman and wondering how to tell the husband. There was a girl I was infatuated with over 20 years ago. Marriage. I didn't date her but was heartbroken as she was sleeping with another man, so I left her. 4 years later, she came back when I was in a rough patch with my GF at the time. I left my GF for her. We hooked up for a few months and left as she was going to patch things up with her BF and left me heartbroken again. After 16 years, she came back and decided to meet her. For that time, I have mostly been single, as I wanted to focus on my son. She has since had 3 kids. 2 kids from the guy she left me for 16 years ago, and 1 young child with her current husband. After we met, she found me very attractive and was keen to be with me, as she now realizes the love that she has for me after so many years. She was obsessively texting and calling me for weeks in secret. She was sending photos and keen to meet for adult time. I eventually did meet her, knowing she was married, and have slept with her a few times. She is very busy and is keeping this quite, so I barely incinerate the conversation. The worst part is, even though she is married and I have slept with her, I do not feel bad nor care. Speaking to her for months, I have found why she was so keen and wanting an affair. This was due to the current husband being apparently strict and borderline abusive to the kids in the first relationship, and he works, often making her feel lonely. The husband makes good money, I assume much more than me, and is willing to provide a good lifestyle for her and her kids. He recently took the whole family overseas for a holiday. During my time with her, I have stated that I will and cannot provide for your children in the same way. This is due to the financial reasons, but more so having the anguish knowing that the first 2 kids she has could have been mine if she stayed/chose me over the other man 16 years ago. My grounds was she can get a place for her kids, and I keep my place for my son and we can live independently and together. I was not interested in getting a large house for 4 kids to live in when 3 of the kids are not mine. What little I save, I have plans to help my son for when he is an adult. Due to this, I know it will not work out. In fact, since 2025, her husband is not working in Jan due to time off, and I barely heard from her. A far cry from a few weeks ago where it was almost constant messaging. Given the time to reflect on the situation, I feel I should tell her husband. I have kept messages, photos, call logs, etc., and think I should tell him. I am not scared of the husband. However, I want to tell him in a way that helps him. I know and don't care if it ends it between me and her. So why do I feel tempted to tell the husband? To get back for breaking my heart 20 and 16 years ago. To expose her for the type of girl that she is. She constantly says that she doesn't really love her husband. She mostly married him to show off to the guy she had 2 kids with that she can find another man. To make the husband realize that she only stays with him because of the lifestyle and money he provides for kids that isn't his, she has little interest in him, aka a dead bedroom. To make her realize there are consequences for her actions. My question is, if I should contact the husband, if I contact the husband, what is the best method in doing so? Should someone I know tell him? When is a good time? Is there a concern about my and the wife's safety? Story 30. Cheating in open relationship. Actually, this question is confusing me. At the request of my partner, we opened a relationship a few months ago. This topic was discussed about 1.5 years ago, but I wasn't ready then. And all these 1.5 years, I had to work on myself in order to fully trust him and get rid of jealousy/anxiety. I still sometimes unconsciously get upset. My parents abandoned me and I have some other traumas, and I still have this unconscious behavior, which manifests itself in the form of sadness and detachment, but never as aggression. For example, if I see him texting with someone, but it's a fast-moving feeling that doesn't bother me. Initially, 1.5 years ago, when we agreed on the rules, I asked him for such, to show me what a person looks like, tell me the address, all for security reasons and, Most importantly, always warn me in advance that he will be meeting someone. Some time ago, this issue was discussed again. He said that such a number of rules imposed a lack of freedom. I agreed to leave one main thing, to talk about meetings in advance. 3 days ago, I went to another city for a day. I didn't have any anxiety or jealousy, but I completely trust the person and would have reacted normally, maybe a bit sad but still, if he had said that he wanted to meet someone while I was away. I wrote him a rather emotional letter where I said that I was sorry that he had to limit himself due to some of my injuries or behavioral patterns, that I need a lot of attention, that I want to feel like a priority in a relationship, to feel my exclusivity, and I offered to meet with a guy he's been talking about periodically for the last 3 weeks. He said he didn't need it and would rather cuddle with me and play PC games. The next day, I arrived and found out that an hour after I left, he immediately called this guy to our house, without telling me a word about it. He didn't warn me in advance. He didn't tell me in the evening when I felt guilty. When I got angry and said it was wrong, it was a disgusting attitude towards me. He said he cared about me and didn't want to ruin my trip for me. I've done so much work on myself to let him do this. But he didn't consider it necessary to comply with a single request and a single rule to make my life better. I don't understand. Is this cheating or what? How can this be assessed? The funny thing is that when I was on the road, and when he already discussed meeting with this guy as I understood, he sent me some nudes, which in terms of content were what the guy he later met wanted. There were foots, and I'm not into this, while it's the main kink of this guy. I am deeply convinced that I was not even close to being intended for these photos. We live together and have not spoken for 3 days now. I am deeply offended and consider this as cheating. He doesn't think he's wrong and doesn't want to take the first step to discuss it with me, or at least apologize. Story 31. Is this considered cheating? Context. My boyfriend and have been together for almost 3 years. Recently, August 2024, he began working at a library as an apprentice. There's a girl there who's in second year, which I've met before, in October. She's super friendly and it went great. Initially, we've met because she wanted to meet me, and also because I am a bit of a jealous girl. I try to hide it for the best of our couple because I know it's my fault and it's got nothing to do with him at the time. So it was a way to reassure me too. Since end of October, it's been rough. My mom was hospitalized several times. She's okay now but still in recovery. My dog passed away not even a week ago, and I had a really tight bond with him. My first dog, sad face. Wednesday night, my BF came to my home after work to sleep at my place. I had the feeling that something had changed for a few weeks now. He has been cautious with his phone. I had a bad feeling, so I chose to search his phone when he went to sleep. I would never have done that. We always had a great relationship. Open and communicative. We never had a fight. I found these types of exchanges on his Insta with that girl, translated from French. Love you, SOOMUCHHH. I love it when you're against me too, my chest, and vice versa. Actually, I love talking with you with at least a bit of physical contact. And I can't wait to see you on Tuesday to hug you. Be careful. I'll jump on you Tuesday. Honestly, I should constantly hold you in my arms when I talk to you, I feel like. This is really what I want every time. But I find that this poem has its place in our relationship. I'll just imagine that we sleep together tonight, if that's okay with you. I admit that at the moment it helps me fall asleep. And I don't want you to think that I'm just swindling around to get sex or anything like that, because it's not the case. If it was the case, I would be clear. Me neither. It's really the first time for me. It's a bit creepy to say, but I just want to. It's finding a place where there's no one. And let's hug and talk. You put yourself on me, I put myself on you. We touch hands, and we talk about life. These are just snippets of conversation. I didn't have a lot of time. It's just text that has been sent from him. More of it. Taking each other hands, hugging, being alone together. They have been exchanging texts like that for more than 2 weeks. Obviously, I've confronted him about it. He said that she's a friend and will always be just a friend, and that he never wanted more than that, apart from hugging each other, taking hands and all. They've never kissed or anything like that. He had a moment of euphoria where he couldn't control his emotions. The situation became out of control, and he didn't know how to tell me since I've been not very good lately. He agrees to the fact that some of those texts were going too far, but he does not agree that's cheating. He also said many times that it was only words, and continues with the fact that he's been alone nearly all his life. He never had friends like that, and he has a lot of difficulties understanding human relationships. He also said that he had the right to have close friendship. He said that I was a tad immature about that too, and that she understood him for things that I don't understand. But I'm such a level above her that you just can't compare. I'm his soulmate and she's a friend, that if it needs to be done, he can delete her and don't talk to her again. I've confronted the girl too, Since we spoke regularly, she and her boyfriend has a very open mindset, so she never saw that as more than just a friendship. But when I confronted her, all she could say was sorry, and it was never her intention to be that way, but that now she sees it and she's truly sorry. After talking a bunch, I said a 2 months pause. Oh, did I say I am in an exam period? So we will talk again on March. Since then, the girl blocked me. I blocked her too. And they are still following each other. His best friend won't talk to me, which I understand. And yeah, the moment I found out the text, I haven't even lost my dog 3 days ago. So thanks. 2025. What a lovely start of the year. But truly, I just want your honesty. Is that cheating for you? For me, infidelity is not just about acts. Is there a future for my relationship? Because I don't think so. I can't forgive him. Thanks for your replies and opinions. Story 32. Penance be the glory. Was with this chick for a few months. Was faithful, Lord knows, until she was not. And even then I kept being faithful. Physically anyway. Had more than a few women proposition me. Respectfully turned them down. They usually ghosted me as a result. And then showed my girl the full dialogue thinking in would strengthen our bond and prove to her my unyielding loyalty, rather than it being used against me and me being accused of trying to rub it in her face. She messed around. Multiple times, I found out, and figured why am I the only one honoring our relationship? We were drawn to each other, couldn't seem to leave each other alone, yet she kept going out of bounds and doing God knows what with who knows how many people, and I'm stuck at home waiting on her while she so easily lies to me and I get ignored? My very recently lost a few close relatives, still in the mourning process, several other deeply concerning dilemmas going on. Then this. So I started talking to other females as well. Which wasn't the most virtuous thing to do in this scenario, admittedly, but zero remorse at this point. So laughed. Don't really have a point to this post. Just feels good to finally vent. Story 33. I have been a cheater in the past. How to tell my husband, the father of my child, that I would like to be single from now. As the title suggests, I, 28F, have a horrible past when it comes to romantic relationships. I got into a relationship with my partner, 29M, in 2016. We got engaged in 2018, married in 2020, and had a child in 2023. I have never been faithful throughout my relationship with him until 2020. I had an online affair with someone. Let's call them X. X had been horrible with communication. I loved X a lot, but he blocked me on social media multiple times. And from his posts, I know he was seeing someone else too. I gave up on ever being with X. I told my husband everything about my past. In 2021. He was broken, but we both stayed because we wanted a chance at this relationship. He suggested I take therapy, which I did. I continued for a few months, 2022 to 2024, and after the birth of the child, I told him that I am fully aware of my flaws, and I would like to be celibate. He should consider separation/divorce. I have no interest in being with anyone else because that will affect my capability to be a good mother to my child. I have tried very hard to be fully committed to my husband, but one, he obviously has unresolved trauma from me cheating in the past. Very understandable. I have asked him to consider therapy, but he refuses because it's not his fault. 2. Ever since we reconciled in 2021, I knew he needed time and never forced any intimacy, physical relationship onto him. However, I did give him an out when I got pregnant because I wouldn't want to be with anyone who doesn't trust me. I birthed the child and took care of him for over a year. Now my husband still has moments of insecurity and randomly rejects my advances to be intimate. Not sex, just a hug after a long day of work and taking care of a baby. This happened 2 to 3 days ago. He said that I should be willing to be in the relationship for the rest of my life without any intimacy, because I screwed up. But yesterday he, editing because I left this part out, wanted to be intimate again. I don't want that anymore. I didn't expect intimacy from him. 3. X lives in another country, and I have never met him in person. I knew him since childhood, but we have never met each other after our affair started. I have always had strong attraction towards X, but I have given up on him multiple times throughout these years because he always shuts me out and never had any proper conversation about what he wants. After the birth of my child, he said he wanted to have a family with me provided I abandoned my child. I am not doing that. I can go celebrate my wildlife, but I will not abandon my child. 4. My husband has been a very good man to me. He has given me a chance after my screw-ups and he supports me for my dreams. He buys me expensive gifts. I know he is trying his best, but I don't care about the gifts. I just care about intimacy, which I know is wrong for me to expect from my husband because it's my fault for her tongue him. It is also wrong for me to expect intimacy from ex, for obvious reasons. I hate myself for being like this. The primary reason I never walked away was because my husband has given me a lot in life. I don't just want to throw the man away. I want to support him financially and help him achieve his goals in life. I just cannot be physical with him or anyone else because of my unresolved feelings for ex, which I am probably going to take with me to my grave. What should be my approach here? Any suggestions? Story 34. Got cheated on twice. Life sucks, but I'll live. I, 35M, found out by accident I was being cheated on by my partner 24F due to company-ist checkups. She gave me syphilis, and my body reacted to it sooner than her for some reason. She didn't even know about it till I got checked as per routine. This came up during test time, but as it wasn't a full medical, it put due diligence into my self-care. I mean, I didn't have anything to lose, so I thought. She cried, freaked out, and we got melded to clean up the STI. Me and my loving stupid self forgave her, hoping it would make us stronger. LOL. Fast forward 11 months, a family member got sick, and she pulled away. She got distant, seeing me stressed but not broken. It got bad till we basically called it quits, only to have a talk about us over dinner. We melded to issue, rekindled the energy and felt better. I got birthday gifts from her, and we spent Christmas morning together, but we had separate family activities. Veso decided to meet up the next day. Zed. Social media is definitely a double-edged sword. I don't use it much, but my friends do. And lo and behold, her posting a guy on his birthday while my people ask me, "Who's that?" I immediately questioned her about it, even though we got a little distant for a few days. We had just been together talking about having a child, planned on proposing mid-2025 before actually having a kid. She denied anything serious with that guy as he's a friend. Didn't drink that down, but kept calm. I was never a fan of letting others know or meddle in relationship affairs, but IG to the rescue. I reached out to her BFF as it so happened. Both of them got distant as well. I spilled the beans to BFF and she understood as we kept a boundary of communication that was never bad. And the friend confirmed the second time she cheated by asking about the condom found in my partner during a pap smear. Yes, it wasn't mine. She basically felt sorry for me and told me to move on, said I didn't deserve it and could reach out if I needed to talk, but I've made peace. She saw the pain, but BFF comes before others. And while she didn't stop talking to her yet, maybe, she did give me solace, mixed with genuine words, and I'm grateful for that much.